What's going on? SEVelocity coming back at you, episode 10, I believe, which also happens to be the conclusion of the NBA Finals as the Milwaukee Bucks fear the deer, take the win, and close out the series, which was a bit unexpected because they started out 2-0, or the Suns started out 2-0, and the Bucks won four straight. Would you like to say anything in regards to introductions before we get into basketball?
Yeah, what's going on, everyone? I know it's super soon, like since our previous episode, but we're doing it a bit earlier this week because I will be away. I'll be going down to Florida, going checking out Wade County, Miami, because I have to vacation this coming weekend. So we wanted to make sure we got an episode out there at a time, like for this week, and perfect timing as well. The NBA Finals just passed, as Evan said. Feared the deer. The Bucks won and it didn't end up going to a game 7. Of course, my prediction once again was wrong, which is why if I think if you recall on the previous show when Evan asked me what was my prediction for, I believe it was game 5, I told him I refuse to make a prediction. I'm just going to watch it because if I make a prediction, I'm just going to be wrong. And then like, no, you got to make a prediction. And what happens? We got robbed of a game 7, and I know everyone wants to see a game 7 in the NBA Finals. So if you want to blame anyone for that, blame my friend Evan over here. I'll continue.
All I'm gonna say is I don't necessarily need to see Game Seven. I think it has to go at least Game Six or Seven, though. Um, all I care about is each game being close, and almost every one of them was really competitive. So that I'm happy for. I also said Suns in seven, but I said the Bucks would win Game Five. Um, but I said that as a following through with my beginning of the playoff prediction that the Suns were going to make the finals. So I wanted to follow through and pick them. But I think that the Bucks finally discovered that you know size down low mattered, and they absolutely destroyed them in regards to rebounding and just
hmm
physicality, everything possible that could require you to score down low or even defensively. Um,
I think enough something other interesting to point out. Because we kind of saw it from the Lakers last year as well, and then in addition this year with the Bucks. Or could we perhaps be somewhat phasing out of the whole 3 point barrage era? Do you think?
I
Because the
hope
past two
so.
championships have been won by dominating the interior. We know the Lakers cannot shoot. The the Bucks. I mean, I'm not gonna say they can't shoot. They have a good shooter, but still not great. Obviously, like Golden State, but they have some quality shooting. The Suns are a superior 3 point shooting team, but yet the Bucks came with the win.
I think that I don't know if they're necessarily going to phase out 3 point shooting. I mean,
I mean,
obviously,
not to the
yeah, yeah,
degree
yeah.
as
I know what
that
you
we,
mean.
yeah.
Um, but I think that a lot of teams like the Clippers, the Suns, um, even the Trailblazers, when Nurkic is hurt, are going to start to realize that you can't just run like two or three guards and two small slash power forwards as your lineup. You're going to need an actual real big man to play in your lineup and get rebounds because when you have teams like the Bucks or the Lakers, like you said, with Anthony Davis and LeBron or Giannis and Bobby Portis slash Brook Lopez, you're going to get absolutely bullied down low, and you're not going to be able to take any 3 point shots because you're not getting rebounds. So the only shots you're going to be getting on your are on your original possession instead of any second chance points. So I think that's going to be a problem that a lot of people realize is lacking on their team, and I think you'll see a lot of teams develop at least a stronger um, front court because of that. I mean, Eaton was
It's
really good,
about time.
but Jay Crowder was. I said it before the series even started. Jay Crowder was going to be a problem compared to Giannis. He has no business guarding him. And sure enough, Giannis was kind of mixed between Eaton and Crowder and got the most rebounds out of anyone in the series. And I would like to also mention Bobby Portis. because I think that that was a point that I absolutely will take when I vouch for him all series after playing like 15 minutes in the first two games that he needs to play more. He is aggressive, he is a good rebounder, and he is a breath of fresh air on the court because he's very energetic. And
It wasn't just this series. You were calling it from the beginning of the playoffs.
yeah, I saw like when they ran when Giannis was hurt, they had Bobby Portis and Brook Lopez in, I think, for like only a couple minutes against the Hawks. But it was like such a big turnaround that I was like, this is something that could definitely change for them in the future series, especially against the Suns because they're lacking with so many big men. Like DeAndre Eaton wasn't playing good last night, so their best option was to put Frank Kaminsky in, which no disrespect to Frank Kaminsky, but he is worlds apart from the big men on the Bucks. So I didn't think that there was any chance that the Suns were going to be able to recover unless they shot lights out like the Warriors from 3-point range, and they didn't. Um,
No, speaking of lights out, I wanted to give you the floor first on this because I feel like you have some stuff to get off your chest. Unlike you see, unlike the other network and stuff, SEVelocity were original. We're gonna speak the truth. So while all these other networks wanna ridicule Chris Paul, we're gonna go a different route and talk about that light skinned guy who's the face of the Phoenix Suns. The face might shine bright like a sun, but he sure wasn't shining bright toward the end of the series. Now, would you like to go in and get some analysis on the next Kobe being Bryant?
yeah, absolutely. Like I said 100 times in the previous podcast, I hate that he was compared to Kobe, and I thought he had no business being compared to Kobe. Um, Not that he's not good or anything. I just think that he's not there yet. He's not there yet, and B, I don't like comparisons in general. Um,
Mhm.
and the biggest C that I think that we haven't mentioned on the podcast itself, but I've mentioned to him personally a bunch of times, Sean, is
Mhm.
that Devin Booker is a very emotional player. So you could see in a bunch of the playoff games, you could see his emotions get the best of him, whether it be getting in the other team's face in an altercation or potentially getting a technical foul. He plays with his emotions a lot, which is a good and bad thing. I think it can make people play really well. But I think in a lot of those series, it's when he's shooting under 40% where he's getting in someone's face and getting upset. And I think that is something that Kobe doesn't do. I think that's something that he just locks in and he goes straight to work and he says, okay, well, if he's, beating me defensively or offensively, I'm going to get back and I'm going to just work even harder. So I think that's something that Kobe wouldn't have done. And that's the big reason why I didn't like the comparisons. But to be fair, I understand Devin Booker's very young and he's got a lot to learn. So, but let me talk about the actual playoff performances because, like you said, Chris Paul's been getting a lot of hate. Oh, he always blows the 2-0 series lead. I'm just going to lay down some stats. I won't even say much in context. Chris Paul averaged 21.8 points per game throughout the series. He shot, or I'm sorry, he had 8.2 assists a game, 55% field goal percentage, and 3.5 turnovers a game. To be fair, I threw that in there. Now, Devin Booker shot 41% and shot almost twice the amount of shots that Chris Paul shot. He again played with emotion and took a lot of frustration shots and even got a bunch of frustration fouls too, which factors into gameplay because when you're playing with 4 or 5 fouls, you have to play way less aggressive. You have to play a way more conservative game. So I'll note that in there. He shot. Sorry, let me just find the stats here because this really bothers me. So he shot 42% from the field, and he shot Devin Booker. We're talking about 22% from 3-point range. So, no disrespect here, but I think it's very clear where there's a slight issue when your star player who scored 70 before in a game shoots 22% from 3-point range and 42% overall. And then your 36, 37-year-old point guard is getting blamed as he shot 55% and played one of the more efficient series out of everyone in the game in the finals. It just bothers me. But I also want to give some hate to DeAndre Eaton because I know he's super young too, so I get it. You're going to take a while to get into the veteran perspective, but he didn't play good in the final two
All
or
right,
three games.
all right, but I give him a pass. I mean, come on, he was dealing with Giannis. Come on,
Yeah,
have a heart,
this
have
is
a heart.
see, and this is what I mean. It was either you had DeAndre Eaton basically alone guarding Giannis and Bobby Portis and Brook Lopez, three centers or two centers plus Giannis who could play any position he wants, and you have Jay Crowder who's 6'6" and DeAndre Eaton alone down low. So basically, you have DeAndre Eaton alone. And Jay Crowder got a few rebounds. I'll give him that, but there was no chance for Eaton to thrive. He was gonna get mauled the second he caught the ball. So there's nothing he could do. I'll give you that. I agree. So Devin Booker definitely needed to step up, but at the same time, huge shout out to Drew Holiday. Oh well,
Lock him down.
let me give four shout outs actually. All of them played great defensively, but specifically, Drew Holiday played really well on Booker and switched a few times too. I think with Cam Johnson, who was playing well at one point. Um, PJ Tucker did really good because he guarded one of the guards too. He would switch between Chris Paul and Devin Booker, so that was really good. Chris Middleton guarded them at one point. Giannis guarded them at one point. They all played really good defense, and of course Bobby Portis played really well too. But I want to give credit to Giannis, who had 5 blocks last night too. Um, I mean, he protected the rim really well. He protected the
But
rim like a center.
also got to point out who was the only person Giannis was struggling to get stops on the floor. The smallest guy out there, Chris Paul, and that's not to shade at Giannis, but it's just to point out the load that Chris Paul was carrying out there, and it's ridiculous to blame him.
Yeah. So it's very hard for me to give any blame to Chris Paul, or most of the blame to Chris Paul. I would say I can give like 15 to 20% of the blame to him. The rest
Yeah,
is like on Devin Booker.
I only blame Chris Paul for one game. I think it was was it game 5 or was it game 4? I don't remember. It was one of those
When he
games
had
that
10
was
points,
earlier
right?
on. Yeah,
Yeah.
and then he had that bad turnover at the end of the game,
But
something
Booker
like
had
that.
like 2 games where he shot like 3 of 15 or like 8 of 22,
Yeah,
and that's
yeah, I know.
garbage.
That's how I blame Chris Paul though for one. The overall in the series, Devin Booker.
All right, let me clarify. It's not garbage, but it's not efficient at all, and that's how you lose games.
Oh no, it's garbage. It's garbage. If you one, you're getting the Kobe comparisons. Two, you're getting ready to coronate you as a superstar. Three, you're the face of your franchise, and you go down like that.
I'll say it wasn't
No.
his fault that he was compared to Kobe, but I don't think there
Well,
was any
yeah.
business
Well,
that he
yeah.
should have been to.
But still, no, you're the face of the franchise. That's garbage. You're Devin Booker. People, if you say the name Devin Booker, people say you're a walking bucket. Well, we didn't see a bucket.
He didn't show up. He did not show up.
Nope. But I think there's another name we need to bring up. Funny, we gave him so many hugs and kisses earlier on, but maybe we need to flip it around. Monty Williams. I don't know about you. I did not see any defensive adjustments.
No, they did a lot of different things offensively, trying to change up the pace. Like they would go down there try to take a quick three, or they would let Chris Paul kind of facilitate and then give the ball back to Chris Paul to find an open shot, which was working a little bit. Um, and then they try. I mean, you couldn't do much pick and roll. There's nothing you could do when there's Bobby Portis and Giannis down low. Like what are you supposed to do in terms for DeAndre Eaton? It's not even his fault. You can't
Yeah.
face two big men simultaneously like that. Um, the Bucks. ESPN's headline was this too a couple games ago. The Bucks were daring the Suns to shoot. They said, "Okay, you're great shooters. Go ahead and shoot." And that's exactly what they did. And they were not making shots. They
Drew Holiday, they're like, you go ahead and shoot. We know we have our dog out there to hold you down.
Yeah, they kept Bobby Portis and Giannis down low for the most part, and then they sent out Middleton. Uh, they sent out Middleton, Tucker, and Middleton,
Holiday.
Tucker, and Holiday out to the perimeter to guard the mid-range to three-point shots, and it worked beautifully. Like there was all three of them are good defenders. Even Middleton, for his size to go against
Yeah.
faster people, he played really well in terms of defense. I'm not gonna I'm still frustrated about the Batman talk, so I'm not going to talk about offense yet.
I mean, but, don't you think he deserves some of it though? I mean, if he's been closing for you guys, that seems kind of heroic to me.
He is not Batman, but he is a good closer. He is a
Yeah,
clutch performer. But when I define Batman and Robin, Batman is the leader of like a focal point of the team, right? And
yeah.
Robin is, the guy who's at his side but can get a lot of work done, no matter when it is. So to me, it's pretty clear Chris Middleton's Robin because he can get the work done when it's needed to get done. Giannis always gets the work done. So I feel like that's completely different comparison. And I don't know what Kendrick Perkins has got on his mind, but I
Bull
hope to
jive.
God he'll apologize at some point this week. But he hasn't. He just said he tweeted Giannis. That's the tweet, and I'm like, okay, well, what about it? You gonna apologize for calling him Robin because he's not Robin?
That's like asking if you think he's ever gonna apologize to Max. He's not gonna apologize to Max, so he's not gonna apologize for that.
You should apologize for making my ears bleed by hearing that. I don't know. It's difficult to have to put the TV on and listen to that. And I think Stephen A. Um, should give a few minor apologies to Giannis because I know he was flaming before the playoffs started, but I think he's properly given him credit by now.
Yeah, well, I think what he really flamed him for earlier on was, well, in the Heat series, number one, when they asked Giannis like, how does he feel going into this series, and he's like, oh well, I don't know, anything can happen. Stephen A. was saying, I don't want to hear any of that. Agree, fee. Go out there, get your revenge, handle business. Like he was saying, he just didn't want to hear that kind of talk
Yeah.
out of Giannis. Like, have more confidence in your guys. You guys do have the better team than them.
Did you hear what Giannis was doing with the trophy and everything this morning? He was driving around with the MVP trophy and the NBA Finals trophy. He went to Chick-fil-A and he had this unofficial,
Yes.
yeah, can I have a 50 piece, please?
He's Giannis coming out to be one character.
You slid a knife.
Uh, Now, I got interesting question for you. Is well, your boy Chris Middleton. After this, after what we saw in the playoffs, do you think he could potentially would it be fair to consider him as a top 10 player in the league?
Let's break that down real quick. Let me think about the 10 people that would be ahead of him. So
Okay.
and this is in no particular order because I know no one's going to agree on. I mean, we might be able to agree on the top two or three, but no one will ever agree on an entire list. So this is no
Yeah.
specific order. So we have LeBron, Kevin Durant, Giannis, Anthony Davis, Steph Curry. So that's what do we got, five so far.
5. Yeah.
Kawhi Leonard, that's six. Damian Lillard, seven. Did I say Luca?
Nope.
Luca. That's eight. I know I'm missing people that are. Oh, Jokic, that's nine. Embiid, that's 10. Uh, so no, he's not better than any
Yeah.
of those 10. Not by a long shot.
Yeah, the more I was thinking about it, I was wondering it would be even hard to squeeze him in 15.
No, I could say he's probably at like 18 or 19.
Yeah,
And that's just free balling it. Like I don't know for sure. Like if I would have to think that through. But me
yeah,
coming up with a list of 20 players right off the top wouldn't be the most productive thing. I'll say he's probably I'd say between 18 and 22 around there.
yeah.
Um,
All right, but now let's get that was just a fun question because I wanted to get a kick out of it. Now the real question. Oh man, I wish we had a moderator because it would make it so much more interesting. At this moment in time, well, and going into next season, do you think it's fair to call Giannis the best player in basketball?
no, I think it's fair to call him the most dominant player in basketball, but not the best. He, I think he's the hardest to stop when he plays like he did last night, but I don't think he's the best overall. I think that's Kevin Durant, and I'm not including LeBron in this conversation because I don't know what he's going to be like fully healthy, and I don't know if he's going to be healthy at the start of the season. I know he's had a few lagging injuries, so I don't want to evaluate him. I really don't.
Wait, hold on. Hold on, timeout. It wasn't a few lagging injuries. It was the ankle. He didn't get fully healed in the sun. He's gonna have a whole summer off.
Okay, an ankle that took him 4 months of recovery and he still wasn't better. Um,
Yeah, well, 4 months recovery. Yeah, you come back. You also need to get yourself back in game shape. The point is, next he's gonna have the whole summer off now.
my
Fresh, fresh legs.
my point is we haven't seen healthy LeBron really much at all this last year. So I told you before this podcast started that if we called LeBron's best few games this season compared to Giannis's best few games this season, like at their peaks this year, then I would take Giannis. But I don't think it was a fair criteria to evaluate LeBron at. Like I don't think that he was really at his peak performance. So
But still, but prior to the injury, I think I don't need crap. I don't even remember who they had at number one. I know it wasn't him, but I know they had LeBron at around 2 or 3 for league MVP. It wasn't Giannis either at number one. I don't remember who it was. Oh well, obviously. Oh, Jokic and Embiid. Yeah, it was those two battling it. LeBron was the third.
oh, in the middle of the season,
Yeah,
because then it was Jokic and
before he went
Steph.
down. Yeah, because Embiid was leading it,
Yeah,
from the beginning, and then then there was Jokic,
like
and then LeBron was third.
I think LeBron's more skilled and like higher IQ in
Yeah,
terms of gameplay, but like also off of athleticism and physicality, I feel like Giannis is at a way better point than LeBron is. So it's kind of
yeah,
hard to evaluate who I would take at least right now.
yeah. I think, and in defense of LeBron, it isn't to diminish Giannis at all. I think another thing we have to consider is like a load of responsibilities. But let's be real, that Lakers team, they just got this year was just despicable for them. Anthony Davis, for some reason, left the bubble, get the huge fall off even prior to his injury, and then after that, the role players they really fell off with that. And I do not. I know you like to crack jokes here and there. I do not want to hear a single joke from you about Andre Drummond. You knew I was totally against it from the beginning.
Well, I had another thought on my mind. I wanted to say that Dennis Schroeder's project for the Lakers is an absolute embarrassment, and he had
Yeah,
no business in being considered the sixth man or even a starter this year after the way he played.
yeah. So and that's what I'm saying. That like consider. I think obviously like LeBron is getting older, and like you only are going to go down from your prime. But I think what makes it hard to evaluate him, like, well, more so for you, is that given we've seen LeBron over the years with, I'm going to say maybe probably even less than what he has on the Lakers, but he's still able to carry the team, and and the way he does it, it just looks easier. It's like natural, like saying, "Oh, that's just what LeBron does." I
Yeah,
feel like we're at a point now. We're seeing LeBron. I'm not gonna say like a regular superstar, because like he's still like a transcendent player in the league right now, but he's in a position now where he's like a guy
he's playing like Chris
who,
Paul in a sense, where
yeah,
he's getting
I'm
like
trying to,
8 to 9 assists a game and scoring
yeah,
25.
I'm trying to put it into words. Now we're seeing him more so. If we were to consider a guy who we just say is like the best player on the team and it's a conversation for best player in the world, he's more so like in the a normal version of that. While in the past we've seen an anomaly where a guy is literally just bringing coleslaw and hummus to to the finals.
Yeah,
Like we're seeing a guy outwork everybody doing so much, but making it look so effortless. If anything, we're seeing LeBron at a more human scale. I don't know how to really word it.
it's tough because if I was to evaluate it like right now, um, assuming LeBron's fully healthy, and you put four of the same type of player, like exact same player on each team, like Bucks and Lakers, and then
Hmm.
you had LeBron and Giannis. as the fifth player, I feel like I would slightly take Giannis's team, and it's really close. And it's not necessarily a dig at LeBron. I just think of what he's contributing right now is not as important as what Giannis is contributing in terms of physicality and rebounding.
Yeah, but what you have to consider with that is like what they have around them. Like, I'm gonna say take Anthony Davis. Like, I'm not gonna say out the equation, but obviously Anthony Davis is better than whoever Giannis has around him. But it's a different style of play. Like like last year the Lakers could not shoot. This year they definitely could not shoot. Giannis had more floor spacing around with a perimeter play, like from Middleton. Like, I
Yeah,
know you don't. I'm not gonna say the whole Batman stuff. Like, I know that really make your stomach boil and stuff. But we seen him how he gets hot late in games and close for them. Like, that's something the Lakers were lacking.
yeah,
And what made a change in Giannis's offense this year too is he didn't have the responsibility of always bringing the ball down and being the primary
right.
facilitator. So his role kind of changed. Whereas LeBron, if anything, I think his role as like the playmaker intensified more so this year than it was last year when they were in the bubble.
But
So I think that needs to be out there as well. And then again, if LeBron, if they had some more shooters, like let's just say they had two true reliable shooters on the floor,
Russell
like
Westbrook,
not superstars but reliable shooters. Like crap,
Russell
let's
Westbrook.
say let's say a Doug McDermott, for example, or Bogdanovich. I think it would have made it would have lightened his load a lot because we know he liked to drive and kick out. The floor space would have been better. The lanes would have been less clogged, and as we both acknowledge, he's not as explosive as he was before, so it would have been easier for him to get in the lanes. And like right now, we saw that with the Bucks, they were forced. The guys were being forced to guard the perimeter more. So we like I don't know about you, I did not see any wall against Giannis this year.
I think the word like when you talk about LeBron facilitating and being forced to bring the ball up, I think that's also in part that he chooses to do that. Like I don't think it's like they feel like, he
No,
has to. I feel
he has to. I don't know if you remember this, because I remember this very clearly, and this was last year's Lakers team, before well when they were better, and I will say it was before Rondo came back for them. Do you remember the game in the bubble when LeBron, like I think he just might have tweaked his ankle, that had to miss one game. He had to sit out, and with Anthony Davis out there with them, the Lakers they could not get the ball up the floor at all. Anthony Davis could not get the ball in the post or anything. Like their whole offense, it was diminished.
that was a Dennis Schroeder problem. That's on him because that's what they brought him in to do, and he failed at
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So that's so then you can say we they definitely needed LeBron to do those things
But
as a
like
playmaker.
when you talk about terms of like explosiveness, I feel like I mean we both know Giannis is more explosive
Yeah,
than
yeah.
LeBron. Um, it's like this weird battle between explosiveness and athleticism and like game IQ and being like the court general. So like I it's hard to pick which one I think is more valuable to the team. Like obviously I think LeBron will have a bigger impact on his teammates in terms of making them better players, but I think that Giannis's athletic ability and explosiveness is able to carry a team too in a sense. Even if his teammates don't contribute as
Yeah.
much.
I think also in parts to the athleticism and stuff. I'm just gonna. I think there's no way to put it, but like even me, whether you're a fan or whether you're a hater or whatever side you're on, LeBron really spoiled us.
Yeah.
It's because we just seen him just do something that just so out of this world that just seeing it diminish the way it has now for him, it is significant compared to what we've seen. But in reality, we know he's still like way more athletic than a lot of people in the league. But it's because he had the bar so high for himself.
It's
So I feel like LeBron right now, he just looks so weird to us.
Yeah, it's weird because it feels like it was such a rapid decline. Like it was only 2 or 3 years ago where he was like so athletically peak above the rest of like the NBA. And like it's not like a roast to say that he rapidly declined, but like now you don't see that almost at all anytime he plays. And it's not like a roast. He does other stuff. Like he passes. He's gotten better at passing. He's got better at calling plays to the rest of the team, and he's got he's become
he,
even a
he's
better shooter too.
Yeah, and he's actually like he's actually been putting more effort on the defensive end now as well. A big part of that is having like a crime partner like Anthony Davis to like share some of the weight offensively. But yeah, we seen LeBron like as of recently on the Lakers. Prior to the Lakers days, I personally don't remember seeing LeBron ever try to draw a charge, even in his younger days.
So if fully healthy right now, if the
Yeah,
Bucks and Lakers went into a series, who are you picking to win?
I'm picking LeBron James. I still think because like I think I remember one time when we had our earlier debates and I asked if you would take Jason Tatum over LeBron, and you said no because you said that no because you still have big value on game IQ, and on to the day and in the dying moments of the game, and I'm not accusing Giannis of like fault or anything. I mean, I earlier in the playoff, you actually said you didn't like some of the decisions he was making, but he rectified that later on. But I still believe toward the end of the game, LeBron, like, I still think he's the one who can make something happen.
Yeah,
Like, not necessarily him creating a shot for himself, but just finding a guy in a good spot.
like if we were evaluating like stars like Giannis and Middleton versus LeBron and AD, I think almost everyone would take LeBron and AD. But
Yeah.
like at the same time, I feel like what Giannis lacks in game IQ or late game scenarios, Middleton complements really well. So I think that helps make up for it. But at the same time, when we evaluate their rosters, I mean, we both know that I'm taking Drew Holiday over Dennis Schroeder in a heartbeat, and I'm taking, Brooke Lopez and Bobby Portis over any person who chooses to play center for the Lakers.
Yeah. But again, even naming those two, I mean, I haven't watched Portis as much as you, but I saw him taking some outside shots. We both know Brooke Lopez is a really good shooting center. Like
Yeah.
that floor spacing right there, which the Lakers do not have.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's why I feel like the Bucks would be way closer than I think most people would
Oh,
think in the series.
I didn't know we were talking about Lakers versus Bucks. I thought we were just going hypothetical LeBron versus Giannis, and then their teammates are the same. I
Oh
thought
no,
that's where we were
well, we
going.
were we were before, but hypothetically in a series, Bucks versus Lakers, fully healthy, who would you take?
Fully healthy. I'm gonna take the Lakers just because I trust Anthony Davis more toward the end on the game by game basis and consistently from early in the game to late in the game. I trust him more than I trust Middleton.
Do you think that it would be a similar scenario to what Aiton was put into with the Suns? I mean, I know LeBron's kind of there too to crash the boards, but in terms of Giannis and Portis or Brook Lopez going against Anthony Davis down low, where he's kind of just getting mauled alone.
You know, I honestly didn't even think of that. I think it
Just
would.
because
I think it
LeBron's
would be.
forced to bring up the ball, so like he's not going to be
Yeah,
as
I
down low.
think it. I think it would be similar. But the thing is, but I'm looking on the other end offensively. Um, Anthony Davis, we know right now he's a way better shot maker than Aiton, and he
Yeah,
has more versatile skill set. We've seen Anthony Davis thrive getting double and even triple teams,
I
like how Kevin Durant and Draymond Green's commended Anthony Davis's talent for that. So I don't think it would be. It definitely wouldn't be to the same extent, but it would be a lot of work for him.
I wonder how the lineup would like because if I'm the Bucks, I would put Giannis probably on Anthony Davis man to man because he's the perfect complement to chasing him around everywhere, whether it be
Yeah,
to the wing or down low. It's just
yeah.
I wonder where Brook Lopez or Bobby Portis would be because usually Anthony Davis plays center, right? So would that leave one of them to have to potentially guard LeBron if he's considered power forward or Kyle Kuzma because that would be a really weird matchup in on both sides. It would be beneficial for the Lakers outside, but down low it would be a disaster in a sense.
Oh, damn. I don't even know, but to be honest, I want to. I just want to see the Lakers see the blow up. They really they have a lot of work to do over there.
I want to see. I can't wait to see the Bucks versus Lakers in their next game if they're all healthy. Just because I want to see how it goes. I'm
Yeah,
genuinely curious.
I will say your point with Giannis' explosiveness and stuff versus LeBron. Like, I think this is really the discrepancy right now. Giannis can handle a higher usage rate than LeBron. So
Yeah.
that's why on a play-by-play basis, that's where Giannis at the edge. LeBron, I mean, with his game IQ helps him do this. He's gonna pick and choose moments where he's gonna step on it and then step back.
Yeah, like
So
we could expect
if
Giannis to play 44 minutes. We could probably if LeBron's only playing at his peak, we can only probably expect him to play 36, 37 minutes. But if you want him to play
yeah,
all game, he's going to have to ramp it down at certain points.
yeah, like we can anticipate. First of all, throughout the series, Giannis. I think even last night, Giannis looked like he was gonna collapse from fatigue.
I know, and he put it
He
all
looked
out
like
there.
he looked like one of those horses on the Kentucky Derby, like gasping for air. And stuff. But we know Giannis on the if I play if you see that lane, he's going to try and explode to the rim. LeBron, he's gonna take his breaks here and there
Yeah.
and get his guys involved. I don't. Yeah, I don't know. Like literally the main val. Like if we were talking about let's say off season now, like talking for a trade or or potentially or like who you want on your team. Like obviously right now, Giannis would be a more valuable asset to any team because you'll have more years out of him than you will with LeBron,
Yeah.
for sure. But I'm just thinking like solely like in terms of like the quality of their play and like the impact that they could bring given like their abilities. I still think LeBron's a better package right now.
That's fair. I think
Yeah,
I think that I mean a couple of years ago when Giannis won MVP, I was ready to say that Giannis is I think where we're at right now is where I thought we were 3 or 4 years ago. Like when Giannis won
yeah,
MVP, I thought
yeah,
I thought we were starting to see like the rise of Giannis. Like I expected him to kind of go into next season and play like he did this this final
yeah,
series.
yeah,
Obviously, it wasn't the same. He kind of plateaued and he was similar to what he was the year before. And I expected LeBron with age to start kind of declining, and he declined a little bit, but it wasn't like rapid. So like now I'm at a point where a few years went by and Giannis is starting to get to that peak that I expected him to be at. And now
yeah,
LeBron is starting to decline a little bit more, not like crazy, but like
yeah.
now it's a
He,
conversation.
he he
So
he's further down the line. Like he's
yeah,
only gonna keep getting worse.
so I think this whole next year is kind of decide that. Like if we're gonna see, hopefully we see fully healthy LeBron, but if that's the case, we'll finally be able to make a true evaluation of if this is still LeBron's league or if Giannis or Kevin Durant kind of took it over.
But that's what I wanted to shift next. Like we went through the LeBron and Giannis comparison, which was pretty much a comparison of youth versus experience, pretty much. But now Giannis versus Kevin Durant. Like I think both of us agree that Kevin Durant is better, but in terms of like impact on a 5-on-5 team, in some regards, I feel like Giannis is more impactful. Like on the
Because
other team, opposing team
rebounding and
defenses.
defense.
Yeah, but on the other team defenses than Kevin Durant because of this. When Giannis freight trains to the basket, help has to get drawn inside to try and stop him. Like Kevin Durant, like we know he can score on anyone, and he'll provide floor spacing and the one-on-one matchups and get his. But we seen with the Brooklyn Nets, like Kevin Durant, when he gets while he was hot, the guys around him were cold.
Yeah.
I feel like that Giannis, in a way, he's more LeBron like in the sense I feel like his style of play elevates the guys around him more so than Kevin Durant's does.
Well, no disrespect to Kevin Durant, but he's kind of similar in regard to Kawhi Leonard, where he's very quiet when it comes to teammates. Like outside of James Harden, Kyrie, those are his friends. He'll talk to them all the time. But like when you talk about guys like Joe Harris, Spencer Dinwiddie when he comes back, I feel like there's more of a silence around them. Like he'll have high expectations, but he won't be very vocal to them. And that's something that I think Kyrie does a little bit better. He's pretty vocal. Even if it's something I don't agree with, Kyrie's a very vocal person when it comes to his teammates. So he'll tell them the way he feels about stuff. Whereas Giannis is very much a moral support type of player. You could see Giannis get upset at times, but you see that he's very much like hey, great job. He'll come over, run it over, and hug you. He'll be very happy. Or he'll try to cheer you up if something went wrong. So like, I think in terms of leadership, Giannis kind of does a really good job of that. I think that he doesn't necessarily do all the game IQ stuff. Middleton's the perfect complement for that. I think Middleton sets up a lot of that. But in terms of morale, Giannis keeps the morale really high all the time. While KD is more of let me go out there and ball and do my thing.
But now I gotta pose the question because I've never actually heard your take on it before, and it's me being actually serious because I want to hear your answer out of curiosity. Why do you like? I know the case for LeBron. Why you might take Giannis over him? It really comes down to his age. But at this point, why do you believe that Kevin Durant is better than Giannis overall?
Um, I think that Kevin Durant is. I think the most important thing, I know defense is extremely valuable. I know rebounding is extremely valuable, but no matter what it is, it's an offensive league, and I think offense is the number one priority. And I think that there is not a single person in this league, LeBron and Giannis included, that can necessarily stop KD. Yeah, they might be able to match him and go put up 40, 50 too, but in terms of Kevin Durant, he's basically unguardable. So like I expect him to make any shot that he takes from no matter where it is, whether it be 5 to 10 feet behind a 3 point line or mid range or down low. I expect him to make every shot. So, and I think that's extremely valuable. Whereas you watch guys like Giannis or LeBron go take mid range or threes, we look at it, we see it while it's in the air, and we expect a little bit less than what we would from Kevin Durant. Like we expect KD to make almost all of those, whereas LeBron and Giannis, I know LeBron's a better shooter than Giannis, but just in general, they're not on the
Hmm.
same level as Kevin Durant is shooting wise. So I don't expect
Yeah.
them to make it as often. So I hold them to that higher threshold where I expect them to score in any chance that he gets the ball.
Mhm. But outside of that though, like passing, decision making,
Well,
defense, rebounding, all of that.
I think Giannis is behind the most out of the. I guess since we're comparing Giannis and KD, I think Giannis is lacking in like late game IQ. Like you see him lose the ball a couple times, and he won't get like too frustrated or anything, but he makes some poor decisions at times. Whereas KD is at that threshold where he's kind of late in his prime, but he's also in like kind of going towards that LeBron side of his career where he's nailing a lot of the in-game situations. Like he knows what he has to get done. So I think that Kevin Durant gets the game IQ at least comparison way better, whereas Giannis's defense is better and so is his rebounding. But I think right now game IQ and overall scoring is more important than the defense and rebounding. Like that's something that Giannis, yeah, I think Giannis, when you get 5 years down the line, he'll have a really good game IQ, and hopefully he'll be a better shooter. Because those are the two things that he's kind of lacking in that department. So
Y- Yeah, I think and that's for me why I also agree Kevin Durant is better. Like, if I had to pick one of them who's like more like well rounded, as in balanced out in their abilities on both either end of the floor, would be Giannis. But I think the
yeah,
reason why I put Kevin Durant ahead is, well, I think we both give Giannis an edge in defense, rebounding, and passing. I think the reason why we still have Kevin Durant ahead is because Kevin Durant, he's not lacking significantly enough in those areas behind Giannis for it to balance out the disparity between their scoring
yeah,
ability. I think that's it. I think honestly, Kevin Durant, I think the reason why he's not acknowledged more as an all around player is because his scoring ability is so transcendent above his other skills that like we all almost take it for granted. Because like, and defensively, he doesn't put in as much effort on a play by play basis as Giannis does. But when he chooses to, he's a great defender and can get stops. Like we see him stopping as a skinny guy, stopping bigs at the rim, and he can chase guards on the perimeter as well.
yeah, and I mean, even his handling is just off of a jump shot
Oh
is
yeah.
just so smooth. And I'm trying to think of the point that I was going to make. oh, man, I don't know what I was gonna say, but Kevin Durant is just like he has that Chris Paul gene in regards to he might be less vocal than Chris Paul is, but he knows exactly what needs to get done to win the game. So even if he doesn't make that final shot or does everything he needs to do to get done to win the game, you know he's going to at least take the necessary steps to get to that point where he's going to be in the closest possible situation to winning the game. So
Yeah,
I think that's an important aspect of it too. Um,
absolutely.
but of course, uh, Ben Simmons is the best player in the NBA.
I don't know who that is.
Actually, not to bring up Ben Simmons kind of in the middle of it, but I did want to talk about uh, NBA free agency movement and maybe a little bit of Ben Simmons too in trade regards. So, is there anybody you expect to out of like? Is there any big players, potential star to superstar players that you expect to be on different teams next year?
Yeah, Chris Paul's deal with the Suns, was it a 1 year?
I thought it was 2 year, but I think that he could be traded. I could be wrong.
Okay, because if that's the case, I honestly wouldn't be surprised to see him on the Lakers. Um, as for the rest of the league, the only thing I can anticipate is Ben Simmons no longer being in a Sixers uniform. Well, I should say Ben Simmons no longer disgracing a Sixers uniform.
Okay, so Chris Paul signed for I believe it's 3 years. 2020, 20, so 2020 to 2021, 2021 to 2022, and then 2022 he's undrafted free agent. So I think yeah, so 2 years I think. So next year he would be a free agent. But I think there's a really good chance he gets traded too, because I think that it's going to be one of those situations where if he doesn't want to play there anymore, I don't think anyone's going to have a problem trading him because it's a respect thing. I don't think that I think they'll respect his decision and be like, okay, you want to go pursue a championship somewhere else, we respect that, we'll trade you away. So I think if he ever did want to leave, he has no problem leaving. Um,
Oh, I can't believe I missed another name. I know I'm at a point where I'm 100% convinced he's going to be on another team. If I'm wrong, I'll live with it. Kawhi.
I don't know where he's going to go. I hope to God it's not the Lakers.
Oh yeah, I hope so too. First of all, if he goes, I know this wouldn't be the best way to establish it. He's automatically not a top five player if he does that. For this sole reason, what was he doing when he went to the Clippers after opening night? He outplayed LeBron. The New Balance commercial, the key jangler saying, "This is keys to my kingdom now. I'm in town. I'm running LA." All of that. Midway throughout the year, calling out LeBron. LeBron, why are you scared to guard me? All of that talking, and then first of all, you what Baylor called you bamboozled the Lakers, held them hostage until the last minute before you go to the Clippers, so that they couldn't like try and work out other deals because they were focused on you, and then you pretty much demanded the Clippers bring in Paul George or blackmail them, or else they wouldn't get you.
5 first round
Or
picks.
oh yeah, all of that stuff. And then in the very end, to go to the Lakers, that'll be the worst mistake Kawhi makes in his life.
I think that it would be funny to see him on the Heat because I feel like you partially don't like him.
Oh no. You see, that's a problem now. I honestly, I'll say I'm indifferent about him because obviously, in Toronto and the Spurs, you and well, I don't know how you felt about him in Toronto, but I know I liked him a lot back then.
I
I
liked
had
him
no
in
problem.
Toronto. I didn't like his decision in the Spurs at the time.
Yeah, I definitely can't disrespect Toronto because even though we know Kevin Durant went down and stuff, he saved us
Yeah.
from having the Warriors get a three-peat. He saved the NBA universe.
And he saved us
So,
from seeing the Sixers in the finals.
oh anyway, that was a stab to the heart. But I don't hate Kawhi. I don't hate him at all. You see, what did annoy me though was because literally on opening night, Oh, one of my friends, he's a huge Kobe fan, diehard Lakers fan, LeBron hater too. Probably wouldn't admit it. Opening night, he was saying, "Oh, because Kawhi had like 7 assists or 8 assists the game." He was like, "Yup, Kawhi's playmaking is getting better every year, mind you." Opening night, yeah, Kawhi's the best player in the NBA now. It's a wrap.
No.
Yeah, you see, and all of that noise last year, everyone saying they're listening to Skip Bayless too. First of all, kept calling Kawhi number two for the longest because he betrayed the Spurs. But the moment he chooses the Clippers over the Lakers, comes in with a Clippers jersey and the new Kawhi New Balance kicks and stuff. Then all is forgiven, and I love Kawhi again, constantly saying he's better than LeBron. Well, saying that he's the best player in basketball, all of that, people saying LeBron running from Kawhi, all of that noise. That's what really ticked me off. Kawhi himself, no problem with, because even against that Denver Nuggets, I look back and I always bring up how we folded against him, and that was the biggest choke job I ever seen from a superstar. I was honestly rooting for the Clippers because
If
I wanted to see that Kawhi versus LeBron matchup because I think that would have been great entertainment and a
yeah,
treat for the basketball world. And Kawhi himself, I will cry if he goes to the Heat because I truly think he will make the Miami Heat a championship contending team. Him alone, him
that
alone,
team would be full of defenders, so that'd be really good.
yeah, him alone. I think Kawhi's a big time player, and I don't think anyone's ever brought up had him in the context of like in the all time greats list before. But I'm just gonna say for small forwards, all said and done, top 10 of small forward all time, a lock for me.
If we follow his patterns and like we saw that he was trying to make a name for himself. Well, I mean, he already was established name, but we saw him go to the Clippers, which I feel like was a direct point of trying to prove that he's better than LeBron, even if he doesn't say that. He picked like an opposing city. I could see him trying to prove a point and go to. I'm not saying this is a Knicks fan. This is not me saying this is a Knicks fan, but I could see him going straight to the New York Knicks and saying, "Well, I don't think we need three superstars in terms of KD, Harden, and Kyrie," and try to prove it as a player on the Knicks. But I
Yeah,
don't know
that will
how I would
never
feel.
that will never happen because I think New York will make him miserable. The media hub of maybe the world. Hell no, for a guy like Kawhi, no. Yeah, we could say he was in LA, but we all know all the media coverage in LA is with the Lakers, not the Clippers.
I think you would be surprised. I feel like everyone tweets about the Knicks, but I feel like no one ever like shows the post game conferences with the Knicks. Maybe it's just because there is no star players on the team. I mean,
Yeah,
Julius Randle will get some attention, but
and who cares?
I mean, I would be interested in that just
Well, how
because.
about this? How about this? Why don't you guys make a trade for Lonzo Ball or what's it called? Try to get Lamelo Ball. What's it called? The one person we know who will enjoy the media out there in New York and LeVar Ball. Yeah,
No, please.
you guys could use a big baller out there.
I I am not against getting Lonzo Ball. I do think that he's a good point guard. I don't want the baggage that it comes with, of course, but
It's an all in one.
I do think that I think that Lonzo Ball, Julius Randle, Mitchell Robinson, and Kawhi Leonard would be a good combo on the floor, at least defensively, because the Knicks team before Kawhi, if they were to have Kawhi Leonard, was already the number one team in the NBA in points against. They allowed the least amount of points in the NBA to any team. So I feel like for RJ Barrett's development too would be really good. Um, I know Kawhi's not vocal, but at least to just watch what Kawhi Leonard does and learn, more defense and shot taking. Um, I think that team would be really good. But we would have beat the Hawks at least. I think.
Even that, imagine that Kawhi and Trey Young.
Stop it, please. That's a nightmare. I don't want to think about that.
That would be an interesting matchup to go against Brooklyn.
I said it last week. I still want to see Kawhi Leonard and Damian Lillard on the same team.
Dame time. No, Dame Dollar needs to go to the Lakers.
No, please.
Or Dame Dollar come to the Sixers.
No. No.
Oh yeah.
No, please. That's like the
Yes.
two least worst. Like that's the worst possible outcomes.
For you.
Yeah, I don't want to see that.
Well, guess what? My feelings are what matter.
the Knicks sign Kawhi Leonard. They bring back Carmelo Anthony. They bring in Damian Lillard too while they're at it. Okay, but realistically, um, based off of trades and what we've seen in the past, the Knicks do have a legitimate shot of doing what the Nets or Clippers have done before in regards to bringing in two stars simultaneously. We do have James Dolan as an owner, though, so that's probably not happening. But they have the money and the ability to move players to make it happen. They just won't do it because they
They've
can't
they've
handle it.
they've always had it, especially the money. They've always had it.
They
They've
always
always
botch
had
it,
the
though.
bag. They always have the bag. What they don't have, they don't have the marketing.
Yeah,
That's what they don't have.
because if you were able to sign Kawhi Leonard outright, you could probably trade. I mean, I wouldn't want to trade RJ Barrett, but you would probably have to trade RJ Barrett and maybe two other young assets for Damian Lillard. But it would absolutely be worth it if you could have both of them in New York. Will it happen? Absolutely not. I have nothing else to contribute in terms of basketball today. If you got anything,
Oh yeah, just a brief reminder. Remember what's coming up this coming Friday. You and me, we're gonna watch the greatest movie ever to be produced in mankind. That's right. Just a reminder for you guys. We are making this happen. SEVelocity, Charlotte F. We are gonna pull up AMC in Middletown, New York, and watch Space Jam 2.
no.
And Ev, he's going to be open minded. He's not going to be ignorant and biased. He's going to kick back and he's going to enjoy the movie.
It's gonna get really ignorant in there.
He's going to forget about the past and just let the original Space Jam be what it was and just appreciate what's happening here in the moment and just let it rock.
Yeah, rocking with that 31% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh my god. I mean, all I know is the first one wasn't a great movie either. I mean, I believe I forgot who it was. Somebody, movie connoisseur back then, compared it to MJ trying to play baseball.
I would rather watch what's the movie called? Thunderstruck with Kevin Durant again.
It's gonna be special. I can't
No, it's
wait.
not.
I
Uh,
can't wait.
I can't wait to tell you guys next week how awful the movie is. But
Yeah, and just know he's gonna say it's awful, even if he does like it.
well, I don't have to worry about that. um, without further ado, you have any closing thoughts before we part ways here?
Yeah, apologize again, you guys. It's not going to be an episode the coming weekend because I will be on vacation because I'm a very hardworking young man. So I am suffering from mental fatigue and I need to just cut loose a bit, relax down in Wade County, South Beach, in Florida, the place where I belong. And and yeah, you'll probably get another episode from us the following week. We'll be back on our weekend schedule.
I only have one closing statement before we say goodbye. Fear the deer. Have a good rest of your week, and we will catch you next week.